Congress leader Rahul Gandhi has made contentious remarks concerning the Indian Army while addressing a rally in Raebareli. He has alleged that the Modi government has created two categories of soldiers. One that comprises of people from the OBC and the economically weaker sections, and the other that comprises of those from rich and well-off families. Now, condemning these remarks, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar approached the Election Commission. He has lodged a complaint seeking action against the Congress leader. This is not the first time Rahul Gandhi has passed contentious remarks regarding the army. He has earlier challenged the Agniveer scheme and has vowed to remove it as well. It is political season, and while leaders pass their comments, we're going to listen to another one, or rather a salvo, which has been made by Rahul Gandhi once again, and then we discuss.
नरेंद्र मोदी ने दो तरीके के जवान बना दिए। एक जो गरीबों का बेटा होगा, दलितों का, आदिवासियों का, पिछड़ों का, गरीब जनरल कास्ट परिवारों का बेटा होगा, माइनॉरिटी का बेटा होगा, और दूसरा जो अमीर घर का बेटा होगा। जो गरीब घर का बेटा है उसे उन्होंने एक नया नाम दिया है, अग्निवीर, और उससे ये कह रहे हैं कि देखो, अगर तुम शहीद होगे तो तुम्हें शहीद का दर्जा नहीं मिलने वाला है। क्यों? क्योंकि तुम अग्निवीर हो और तुम्हारा परिवार गरीब है। तुम्हें पेंशन भी नहीं मिलेगी, तुम्हें कैंटीन की सुविधा भी नहीं मिलेगी। अगर तुम शहीद हुए, तुम्हारी परिवार की, हिंदुस्तान की सरकार तुम्हारे परिवार की रक्षा नहीं करेगी।
To talk more about this, we are being joined by Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director of India Foundation. Also with us on the program, Major General A.K. Sivach, Defence Expert. Major Muhammad Ali Shah, Defence Expert, also joins us on the program. And last but not the least, Major General Shashi Asthana, former Additional DG Infantry, Global and Strategic Defence Expert, joins us on the program as well. General Asthana, I'll begin with you. First up, as a soldier, as somebody who's, spent his entire life looking after, the security and safety of the country, what do you make of these comments, which are extremely political in nature? But in Rahul's case, they're not only political, they sound extremely divisive, they sound inane and without any basis in fact whatsoever. Do politicians really need to, travel or tread this mile where they even try to create distinctions between what kind of soldiers are actually safeguarding our country? At the end of the day, for me as an Indian, as a civilian, what really matters is who's safeguarding me. It doesn't really matter what religion, caste, creed, or benefits that prevail with them when they sit on that wall to protect me.
Certainly, these statements and counter statements, and sometimes the irresponsible ones, they are seen during the political elections, and it happens in all democracies. But the idea of dragging army into such political discourse, that is condemnable and must be condemned, and more so when it is far from the fact. Notwithstanding the personality, the question is that the statement of question lacks absolute merit, and therefore it needs to be condemned. Army, in no uncertain manner, I can say that there is no different class. It does not distinguish between caste, creed, religion, rich, poor, etc., etc. Whatever is being said is absolutely, I would say, totally out of context, and it just does not represent the state as the army is. That's one part of it. Secondly, now coming on to even bisecting as to what he is saying, to put everything in context, even for people who tend to talk about things like Agniveer, etc., etc. Now let me put it in uncertain terms. There have been different terms and conditions for different kind of entries right from independence. We had emergency commission earlier. We have officers who were short service commission and regular officers, whether it was Congress or BJP or irrespective of which political party was there. And everything was as per the national requirement and the requirement of the army. Even the new schemes which have been tried, they are being tried as per the requirement of the army. And in case certain improvements are required, the government of the day will take those improvements, and those improvements is also a continuous process, irrespective of which political party is in the government or otherwise. So as far as reforms are concerned, it's part and parcel of the army. And people who do not understand the reforms, they must not unnecessarily start making statements without understanding it and creating, shall I say, confusion amongst the normal public as to what is happening. The most secular organization, if I can name in the country, is army. Similarly, it is the question of earlier also there have been statements of misrepresenting facts as far as Doklam is concerned, Balakot strikes are concerned, and other things are concerned. Sure enough that these kinds of strikes, the entire picture cannot be given to you, because we have to do it again and again, and therefore perhaps a lot is not shared with the public in every country. So and we are no exception. So apparently, in a professional manner, we are a professional army. Our morale doesn't go down with the guys like a few people unnecessarily making awkward statements. But notwithstanding that, they are better avoided. And I think any effort to drag army into the political discourse should be condemned and must be condemned by everybody. And Election Commission must put a stop to it as far as this particular idea of any party trying to drag army or armed forces into the political debate. Vineet.
All right, General Katoch, why drag in our soldiers into this discourse? Aren't there other topics, that are pressing as is in our country, that you have to talk about this? What all of us should be doing at any given point, regardless of what's happening in the nation, is always thanking our soldiers for safeguarding the country. These seeds of division are definitely problematic, and when they come from an area or a pedestal which has been given to politicians, it definitely sends the wrong message.
Thank you, Vineet. Vineet, the way I look at it is any statement made by Mr. Gandhi generally is not taken seriously. But the point is, he is still the topmost leader of his party. So when he says something, a very large number of people are going to, especially in the rural areas, are going to, they'll get that inkling of a feeling that there is some merit in it. And if they have sent their children to the army as Agniveers, then there may be some sort of, doubt created in their mind. What will happen to my child? So I think these statements are very dangerous as far as national security is concerned. We don't do that. Our troops are there on the borders. I've spent practically half my life as in the borders, as have my colleagues on this panel. So it is a very difficult life. It is a very challenging life, and it is a very lonely life. Now, to create divisiveness onto our troops who are guarding the frontiers, I think it is very counterproductive, and most tragically, it won't even get him votes. So these statements are best avoided. Now, what really disturbs me is a total lack of understanding on the part of individuals making such statements as to what the scheme is all about. There is no distinction, talking specifically of Agniveer, there is no distinction made as far as the recruitment is concerned. There's a very simple procedure, the same procedure as was existing earlier since independence. The same procedure is in vogue. We don't ask a chap, are you rich, so we'll take you here, and if you're poor, we'll take you there. That just doesn't happen. There is no questions asked on a whole range of issues which are being spoken about. Now, if Mr. Gandhi had some issues about Agniveer, well, he can air them out in the sense that, okay, we can improve upon the scheme. There is no scheme which cannot be improved upon, and Agniveer as it is a test bed now, and I'm quite certain that certain tweaks will be carried out by the armed forces themselves after a year or two. But the scheme is a good scheme, you see. I mean, that's the whole point. It's a very good scheme. It has been appreciated by the rank and file. And while it may not be 100% okay, It is still a pretty good scheme, and it is better than what we were having earlier. So I think there is a total lack of understanding among certain politicians. They speak certain things in certain areas to garner the military vote. I don't think that's going to happen, and it is best left avoided. Will the election commission take any action? That's anybody's bet. But the point is, you are doing no service to your country, and the only people who are benefiting by such talk is our opponents from across the northern and the western borders. Vineet.
General Sivach, in fact, General Katoch is absolutely right. This does compromise national security and our safety and the perception of the armed forces to a large degree. The election commission, obviously, we don't know at this point in time whether they will reprimand Rahul Gandhi on this or not. But, this will not be the first instance that Rahul Gandhi has dragged the military or the army, the armed forces in for political ends alone. Do you think that, there should be a blanket ban, for the lack of a better word, for politicians to not drag in the armed forces to further their political agendas or objectives or narratives?
Very correct, Vineet, no doubt. See, once you are not understanding the complete picture and you are dragging the armed forces into a political arena, it sends a wrong message. And remember that the people, it will not have that much impact, and it will impact the man on the ground, the people, the soldiers which are guarding the border. It demoralizes them and it starts creating doubt in their mind. When you are saying that there is a difference between a rich and poor, there is no change in any scheme which has taken place after independence. Anyone and everyone can join anywhere, depending upon the merit as well as your capability. Now, as far as the schemes are concerned, there are a number of schemes which have earlier also come, Emergency Commission, Short Service, and now Agniveer scheme has come. And no one is saying this is the perfect scheme. It needs some changes, and the government has already given an inclination that it will do a change. And I suppose that will happen, because there are 2-3 issues which are in this scheme. I suppose Indian Army is aware of that, and they are now seeing it on ground. These are 2-3 changes which can be made. For example, that as on today, only 25% Jawans are going to be retained after 4 years. Possibly it is going to become 50% now. And also other issue. Now, I am very strongly raised one issue. That is when Agniveer is for 4 years. And if he dies and sacrifices life during these 4 years, he must get everything what a regular soldier gets it. But these points have been told within our own system. And, those who are now looking after this scheme, they are ready to change, because Indian Army is to protect the nation. And we want to keep the morale of our troops and officers to the best. So nowhere at all you will allow such thing to happen. So the point today is, if you start raising doubts, you start creating a rift, that is not just sending a good message. My only request to the politicians are, once you are in political arena, once elections are taking place, you have all the right to point out finger at each other, but not at the cost of defense forces, because they are the one which are guarding our border. Today we are sleeping peacefully in our homes because our soldiers are guarding the line of control and line of actual control. So that point must be seen. See, Naam Namak Nishan is the motto of Indian Army, and it carries on today. It was earlier, and it will remain like this. As far as the recruitment pattern is concerned, whether it is an officer or whether it is Jawan, there is no change. Anyone, any caste, any creed, there is no difference. It all depends upon your qualification and your merit and where you fit in. There are a number of cases which we would like to tell. Those who used to be a JCO and NCOs in Indian Army, their children are becoming officers. Anyone can become an officer if you meet a requirement. And today, military school and Sainik school are the feeder group to National Defense Academy, in Indian Military Academy, and also to the Officer Training Academy. And majority of these children are also the children of ex-Jawans and the JSU. So therefore, one can say with a lot of authority there is no division between rich and poor. There is no division between any caste, creed, or religion. We are same. Indian Army is the only institution which follow multiple mandir system, MMG, mandir, masjid, gurdwara under the same roof. You have mandir also, you have a masjid also, you have a gurdwara also, and therefore there is no difference between any religion. We remain same, and we fight independently, but we fight unitedly together when it is required. Now this is the you can say the theme of Indian Army, that we are there to defeat the enemy, and we are here to make sure that our countrymen are proud of us. So kindly do not pass any comment which can unnecessarily demoralize those people who are guarding you 24/7. Vinny.
Right. And Mohammad Ali Shah, let's also not forget that it's Rahul Gandhi who's made this statement. I don't think I can recall a single politician or a leader who has mass appeal who has actually leveraged any of his speeches or his stances when it comes to the armed forces. Are we supposed to take Rahul Gandhi seriously? Whatever else he says is also, without much thought, to say the least. Mohammad Ali Shah? I can't hear you. All right.
Yeah.
Go
Can
ahead,
you
Ali.
hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. See, firstly, the Indian Army is the only secular, I would say, one of the only secular, very fair, square, clean organization in the country. There is no organization which can parallel the Indian Army at all. So, any politician from any party making a statement and lowering the morale of our troops is just not accepted. Now, coming to the fact that he said Rahul Gandhi, not to forget that, yes, the very fact that a lot of people do not take it seriously. That, Rahul Gandhi ne bola, they laugh it off. But now, after seeing the statement of our Minister of External Affairs, Mr. Jaishankar, and other people, they have taken cognizance of that, and they have taken no objection to that. They have put it up to the Election Commission, and let's see whether the Election Commission will take cognizance of that or not. But the very fact is, Mr. S. Jaishankar has also said that it has to be. It's not something to take it lying down and not take it seriously. It is something of national security, and national security should be of prime importance. So any politician who drags in the army's name, unpardonable, totally unpardonable. Because in the army we do not see who's a Dalit, who's upper class, lower class, who's rich, who's poor, which background. Everyone. That's why we are in uniform, right? Everything is uniform. We draw the same salary as per ranks. We do the same work, same duties. No one asks for your background. That's something which is never spoken about in the army. These are two knots. You don't discuss politics, you don't discuss religion. We never discuss this, Vineet. We never. The very fact is now, the advisors of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, I don't know whose advice he takes these advices from and on whose basis he makes these statements from. He knows that people are dying to catch him. So he should be extra careful. But no, the very fact is, repeatedly when you see a mistake like this, I don't know what to call it. Whether one should take it seriously, whether the nation will decide that, whether they should take this seriously or not, Vineet.
Good point there. And General Asthana, do you concur? Would you mind entertaining this thought, this idea that there should be lines, there should be limitations to what politicians can speak and what they cannot, and that should in fact be prescribed in a rule book which should be handed to every politician, because if they want, they can use anything, even personal matters, to leverage their political propaganda.
See, politicians using everything to pursue their political aim is a separate issue. But when it comes to the defense forces, there should be something that you should not unnecessarily talk about the defense forces. And more so in this particular case, the issue is that what he is talking or what the statements which are in question, they are absolutely irrelevant and false. So that's where perhaps, and it is a misinformation. It's not only information, it is misinformation to a particular segment of society, which can create unnecessary problems in the minds of the young boys who are trying to get recruited. Now, let me also tell you two, three examples I just want to highlight, especially for those politicians who don't understand the army. Can you imagine that when the Naga Kuki issues were at this peak in Manipur, that is the time that I am from Assam regiment and I have troops from Nagas as well as Kukis. And both these tribes, they die for each other when they are serving in the unit. That is the ethos of the army. Because when they are part of the unit, then it's totally it's a totally different scenario. Secondly, many of the politicians, I know because I've handled some of the parliamentary questions as DG Infantry, many politicians were not even aware that there is nothing like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe in the army. It may be there in certain paramilitary forces. It's not there in the army. Now, not very many are aware that there is no case of religion, caste, creed, etc., etc. It's just not there. So the recruitment is purely and squarely based on merit. And perhaps, despite all the political pressures, the army is one institution which has maintained it and maintained this identity, because there used to be questions as to why shouldn't there be a quota in army. But when we said that no, there should not be a quota in army, because army is one of the institutions, because if it fails, then what? Then who secures the country? So that is where perhaps people understood, and all the governments of the day, they understood and they did not tweak with the reservation systems in the army. So these are certain things which the country must know, and these politicians must know that when they are going to talk like this, it is they are actually giving misinformation, and misinformation and disinformation is a very dangerous information war, and it is a war against the state by the person who is trying to put those rumors into the environment. So I think it must be taken seriously, and there should be some guidelines that as far as the army is concerned, if you are trying to speak something or in the public domain, especially as far as the politics, there should be some kind of clarity or some kind of clearances or something like that. I don't know how it will work out, because in democracies people do speak about the armies, but not. I am yet to see many countries are getting into elections. I am yet to see any country trying to criticize the army or criticize attaching a particular government to the army. We are not seeing the first prime minister. Army is 150 years old. The country's age is 77 years.
Right.
And the army has not changed. And the character of army and the ethos of army didn't change with various politicians.
And General Asthana,
So
what would happen to you if you said something, if a politician made such a statement, perhaps in one of our very friendly neighboring countries, say for China and Pakistan?
Yeah. So that is even more dangerous, because when they go there, or even when they go outside country and speak like that, that is also, I think, absolutely condemnable, and must be condemned by everybody, and must be highlighted like your channel is doing it. I'm sure the other channels
We'll take concluding thoughts from the rest of our panelists, starting with General Katoch.
Vineet, one of the things which struck me was that when Mr. Gandhi is referring to the rich and poor divide within the army, I presume he's referring to the officer class as being rich. I would like to disabuse everybody of that notion. We are just like the others. But more importantly, if you look at the NDA or the IMA or any of our training establishments where the gentlemen cadets are being trained, 80 to 90% of them belong to lower middle class and middle class, you see. And we have been making a case continuously that the children of more affluent families should actually join the forces. They don't join the forces. So if you're looking at politicians like Mr. Gandhi, he's not married, but let us say his sister, I don't think their children will ever join the army, and they are the affluent people. So the army has got a very straight system. It is open to all, and I think the sensibility should be respected. There is no reason of trying to create a problem where none exists. Vineet.
General Sivaj?
Yeah, Vineet, 2-3 issues. One is that when we were trying to say that whenever some valor is been shown by defense forces, you want a proof. That should be stopped. You cannot have doubt on your own defense forces. Whether it was a Uri surgical strike or whether it was air strike in Balakot, when it has been already accepted by even Pakistan that 300 terrorists have been killed in Balakot of Jaishankar along with 28 personnel who were training them. So where is the doubt left? When you create a doubt in the minds, it sends a wrong message to the soldiers which are guarding your border. They feel that whatever valor and sacrifice they made is gone in the waste. I suppose our all countrymen as well as politicians should get mature. The second issue which we are trying to convey is as far as our intake pattern is concerned, it is one of the best intake pattern. It is not based on any caste, creed, neither it believes in rich and poor. It purely believes on merit. And this is standing the time and the test of, you can say, war. It can standing a test of the peace time. So one must carry on with that. If we have started some scheme, it's a pilot project, and if feel that there is a requirement of carrying out mid-course correction, I'm sure enough Indian Army is good enough to make some correction, and also the government of the day, they will realize that possibly this needs a change, and they will do it because it's a dynamic process. You cannot be a stagnant. You have to be dynamic. You have to make new policy, but you need a change. You should do a change, Vinny.
All right. Ali, quickly, please.
Right, Vineet, the very fact is we do not discriminate between anyone's financial background, anyone's religion, anyone's caste. We don't see who is Ali, who is Vineet. We do not see that. We see the capabilities purely on merit. Everything is on merit. In fact, let me tell you, the officers who are getting commissioned now, they are more of the non-commissioned officers or junior commissioned officers' children who are getting commissioned. The officers' children do not join the army, many of them. They go abroad or they do something else. Very few officers' children are joining the army nowadays. So there is no question about being divided at all, and we all stand by each other. The only organization where, I'll quickly conclude by saying, in civil world, you find a cutthroat competition. Here we saw Captain Vikram Batra Paramveer Chakra dying for his colleague. He laid down his life to save the life of his colleague. You find such in the army. You find that is the organization. My father, being a Muslim officer, he rose to be the deputy chief of the army staff. So if that was the case, then that wouldn't have happened, right? It's purely no one sees your religion, no one sees your background, no one sees where you're coming from, purely your competency beneath.
Absolutely. Great points. And it is no business of politicians, to tread over matters which are not only sensitive, but are rather sacrosanct when it comes to the safety, the integrity, the security, and of course, the overall socioeconomic balance of the country. We'll take a short break on that note. Would like to thank all my guests for being a part of this wonderful and insightful conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.